I will take you on a journey to the heart of one of the most magnificent monuments of Persian civilization, Persepolis. Perched on a man-made terrace atop a rocky outcrop in the plain of Marvdasht, this vast complex stands as a symbol of imperial power, artistic achievement, and administrative organization. Construction began around 518 BCE under the order of Darius I and continued over generations, especially during the reigns of Xerxes and later Achaemenid rulers. Persepolis was primarily a ceremonial center rather than an administrative capital in the daily sense, a place for royal ceremonies, receptions of delegations, display of tribute, and formal events such as Nowruz. To build Persepolis, a massive stone platform was created to support palaces, halls, and gateways. Its most important components include the Apadana, the Great Audience Hall with hundreds of columns whose wooden roofs have long since vanished, the Takra or private palace of Darius, the palace of Xerxes, the Gate of All Nations, and the grand stairways decorated with sculpted reliefs. The staircases and walls are covered with detailed bas-reliefs showing representatives of the empire's many subject peoples arriving with gifts, a vivid portrayal of the empire's ethnic and geographic diversity and its tributary relations. The artistic language of Persepolis blends Persian, Elamite, Mesopotamian, and Central Asian influences. The carved reliefs record minute details of dress, objects, and ceremonial protocol, reflecting courtly life and ritual. The king is often depicted in a central, symbolic role presiding over the procession of gifts, underscoring his position as both earthly ruler and an authoritative figure in a sacred kingly order. Mythical and animal motifs, such as winged bulls or floral patterns, mingle with realistic portrayals, creating a layered visual vocabulary of royal symbolism. Persepolis also served as a repository of wealth and an administrative hub for managing imperial resources. Archived documents, clay tablets, and administrative records written in several languages have been found that illuminate the empire's economic and bureaucratic systems. Workshops for crafts, treasuries, and ceremonial halls indicate that Persepolis functioned as a focal point for the display and redistribution of the empire's riches rather than a typical urban center. The fate of Persepolis changed dramatically in 330 BCE with the arrival of Alexander the Great. As the Achaemenid Empire collapsed under Macedonian conquest, parts of the complex were set ablaze and many wooden elements and decorative features were destroyed. Sources differ on motive and circumstance. Some ancient accounts describe the burning as deliberate retribution against the Persian monarchy, others suggest the fire began during celebrations or was the act of intoxicated soldiers. Whatever the cause, the result was extensive damage and widespread looting. Much of the once magnificent superstructure was reduced to ruins. Despite this destruction, Persepolis never disappeared from the cultural memory of Iran or from the attention of the wider world. European travelers and scholars from the 17th through the 19th centuries visited and described the site, drawing international scholarly interest. Systematic archaeological work in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and later excavations and studies, gradually revealed more of the site's layout, construction techniques, and the inscriptions and artifacts that help historians reconstruct Achaemenid institutions and art. Architecturally, Persepolis is a striking example of ancient engineering and design. Precisely cut stone blocks, finely carved reliefs, and an axial arrangement of ceremonial spaces testify to centralized planning and organized labor. The combination of durable local stone for foundations and imported woods for roofs and interiors reflects the empire's wide resource networks and its capacity to mobilize materials and craftsmen from across its territories. Today, Persepolis stands not only as a major archaeological site but also as a potent cultural symbol. It was inscribed on UNESCO's World Heritage List in 1979, a recognition that brought international attention to its preservation. Conserving Persepolis faces ongoing challenges: weathering and erosion of the stone reliefs, the impacts of heavy tourism, and the legacy of earlier damage that requires carefully considered restoration. Conservation and research efforts by Iranian and international teams continue to balance protecting the site with making its history accessible to the public. Educationally and culturally, Persepolis offers a window into how power, art, and multicultural exchange were organized in one of antiquity's largest empires. The procession reliefs representatives of many lands in their distinct costumes bringing tribute convey a message of both diversity and imperial unity. Together with its monumental architecture and inscriptions, Persepolis presents the Achaemenid state as a centralized power with sophisticated administrative structures and a far-reaching network of resources and labor. Standing today before its broken columns and carved stairways, one confronts a landscape of deep antiquity, a ceremonial stage that once hosted royal pomp and ritual, now a ruin that speaks across millennia. Persepolis reminds us how buildings can embody political ideas, cultural connections, and human labor, and how careful preservation and scholarly study can keep those stories alive for future generations.